Welcome back. In this video, we are going to set up the profile screen. As you can see here, my profile, we have this little image here, which will later be clickable so that we can edit the image. Then we have the name that we can change. Email is not changeable, and then the mobile number, and we can update that. Of course, it's not populated yet. That's what we're going to do in the next video. But for now, we're just gonna set up this activity as it is. You can of course try to build it yourself. What's important is that this email edit text is not focusable, so we cannot click on it and edit it. Okay, of course they're not populated yet, so it doesn't make any difference, but later on it will make a difference. And of course we have this little back button, which then brings us back to our main activity. So if you want to build this yourself, go ahead and try it yourself, please. All right, so let's go ahead and do that. If you want to do it together, that's fine as well, or if you just want to check how I did it. So I'm just going to create a new activity here, new empty activity, and I'm going to call this one my profile activity. And of course it should inherit from our base activity. So here that's in base activity. Then we need to import R. So let's do that, because we are in an activities folder and it doesn't find R. Now it does find it. And now we will need to do multiple steps in here. So first of all, let's go ahead and make changes to the manifest. So let's go to the manifest. Here we have this new activity somewhere. There it is, activity my profile, and I want to use the same style for it. Okay, so I'm just gonna add those two lines as I've done with every other activity as well. It's portrait mode and it's themed with the no action bar. And then let's go to the activity my profile XML. So here we will need to set up quite something. And in order for this to not become a typefest, I'm gonna go through it. I have the code prepared here. But before we do so, let's go to our dimensions and the strings real quick so that we have the right dimensions in there as well. So the dimensions that I'm going to use are going to be the following ones, and it's quite some. So it's a lot of different dimensions. So let's look at those. We have the screen content margin start and end is going to be 16. The screen content margin top bottom will be 10 density pixels. Screen content padding will be 16. The user image size will be 100. The margin top for the profile name will be 25. The edit text mail margin top will be 20. The mobile margin top edit text will be 20. And the button update margin top will be 30 density pixels. Now at this point, you could of course say, all right, I would like to use the same margins as we have done in other activities and other examples, so that we always have the same sizes, so we only change one of them. That is something that you can do, and that would probably be a better choice. But for our case, or for the purpose of this video, it's a lot easier to just do it like this. Okay, so I'm just gonna show you the dimensions here, and then we're going to use them. And then also the strings that we're going to use, it's not many, but still let's add those in here so that we could potentially make our app multilingual later on. So we can see here mobile, update, and my profile. Those are the terms that are used here. All right. So now we can go over to our activity my profile, and you can see it's a linear layout which has a match parent for width and height. The orientation is vertical, and in there I have an app bar layout with a toolbar. So first of all, we start with this toolbar at the top. You can see here this blue toolbar there, which has the app bar overlay theme, which is the style that we created ourselves earlier on, which inherits from theme overlay app compat dark action bar. Then we have our toolbar here, which has only the action bar size height, which has the color primary background, which is this blue color, and the pop-up overlay as the pop-up theme. And then we have a linear layout here. So it's this background linear layout here, which you can only see in the background, and inside of that we have a card. So we have this card in which we then have all of the other elements. So the image, the edit text, update button. Okay, so linear layout, which is the background, which will also use IC background, which is a drawable that we have. Okay, then we have the card view with the margins that we have prepared in the dimensions, and a little elevation, which we also have in the dimension, so that it creates a little shadow. We have a little corner around it as well, as you can see. Well, you cannot see it in the design, but you will see it once it's in the application. So if you go over to my profile, you can see that there is this little rounded corner here at the top left, or at all of the 4 sides. Then we have another linear layout so that we can put, for example, the image view, then edit text 1, edit text 2, and edit text 3 inside of it. And then finally we have our button at the very bottom. Okay, so this is nothing new. So I think this should be fine that I just rush over it. If you want to dig deeper into it, of course, check out the XML file. So download it and check it out in more depth. There's only one thing that I want to specifically show you, and that is this focusable or focusable in touch mode is set to false for our app compat, which is the ET email. So for our email address, we don't want to be able to edit it, or we don't want to allow the user to edit it. And of course, the input type is set to text email address so that the user gets the right interface directly when clicking on it, potentially. Of course, not in this screen, so it doesn't really matter for us, but it's still a good practice to have that when you work with emails. But in this case, it wouldn't even really be necessary, but I think it's still good for you to know that if you want to use email addresses, then use the input type text email address. Okay, so now we can go to our My Profile activity and set that up. And it will be very similar to what we have here regarding the action bar. So let's set up the action bar here as well in the profile activity. So set up action bar. It's not toolbar main activity, but it's the toolbar underscore. And does it give me something? Yes, My Profile activity. And here we won't need those 2 elements, so we don't have a navigation icon in there. What we do have, however, is our action bar. So val action bar should be a support action bar. And then we check if the action bar is null. So if action bar is not null, to be specific here. So if it's not null, then set home or display home as up enabled. Action bar set home display as up enabled to true. And then action bar set home as up indicator. And here we use r.drawable.ic, and here black color or black color back, even though probably black is not going to be perfect for this case. So if we look at it, we can see that we're using a white color here. So maybe we should use, or we should create another one, which is gonna be the same one in white. Okay, so let's copy this and new, or actually, do I have it already? White? Yeah, no, I don't have it. So let's create the white version. New vector, give it this name, and then it's an arrow, so hopefully we find it. Yeah, it says arrow back iOS. So let's press next, finish, and actually I gave it the wrong name. It should be back still here, but this should be white here. White color back. So let me see in the project if it created this drawable for me. I see black color back. Did it give it some other name? Well, it seemed it didn't even create it for me. So let's go ahead and do that again. Vector, like this. I see white color back, and the color should of course be white. So here 6 Fs will do. Choose this, next, and then finish. Okay, and now it should work. And then of course we can set the title of the action bar as well. So let's do that. Action bar dot title should be something like my profile, even though here of course we should use a string, right? So in order to use a string, what we can do is resources dot get string, and then we get the string from r dot string dot, and here it was my profile. Even though now that I see it, I think it would be better to call this one my profile title to be more precise. Okay, so this is also something that you can then of course edit later on, but I personally think this is going to be a more descriptive string name. And then of course I want to give this action bar, or this toolbar to be precise, toolbar my profile activity, a navigation on click listener so that it does something, and it should just do on back pressed. All right. So now of course we need to call this function in our onCreate function. So let's just do that in here, set up action bar. And now at this point we should of course make sure that we can get there. So where would be a good spot? Well, in our main activity, because if we look at it, when we're in the main activity and we press on my profile, that's when we want to get here. Currently we just display this little toast here, which says toast make text my profile. Now of course we want to start an intent. So let's start the activity here. Start activity with the intent from this activity to our my profile activity : class.java. All right. At this point we should be able to test it. Hopefully I didn't add any minor bugs in there, so things don't work as intended, but everything should be fine, I think. All right, so there we are, Projet Manage. Let's go to the profile, my profile of Homo Simpson, and we can see it works. Perfect. Now let's click on email. You can see we cannot access it. We can access the others, however. All right, so in the next video, we are going to populate this screen with the image, the name, and so forth. All right, so see you in the next one.